Hello, and thank you for joining me. I'm Theresa Crowley. Today, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the reactions that we're having to the pandemic throughout our immediate lives and maybe around the world. A lot of times, what's happening is the situation in itself can't create the feelings, but it definitely can draw out some negative thoughts about what's going on, some negative thoughts that have been brewing or something that we've suppressed for quite a while. So when these things are limiting and we are feeling a little bit under stress, what we need to do is remember that your thoughts about the situation create those feelings. And if you're not being affected directly by this, maybe you're watching a little bit too much on television about the bad things that are going on, the things that are affecting everyday life. What was going on in Spain was affecting me a lot because I do have relatives there and I was quite concerned. But what I needed to do is know that my thoughts were creating the problem, as my family in Spain was safe and doing fine. And even with the power of the internet, they gave me the information that I needed to know that they were okay. Now notice those unhelpful thoughts and replace them with the ones that are helpful. And so I wanted to take action. I wanted to find out how they were. And so when I did actually outreach and find out how they were, it made me feel so much better. Now, a lot of times what's going on with this situation is we just don't have a plan. We don't have an end date. We don't have a mark when our lives are supposed to be so-called normal again. And I think that's an unhelpful thought also, because we may never return to normal. But what we need to do is think of the positive and the helpful thoughts of what are we going to do once this has slowed down a bit, because it may not ever go back to the way it was. Take note of the behaviors that make you feel better or feel worse and try and stop them, nip them in the bud, so to speak. Because a lot of times if you can cut them off, change, go in a different direction, then you are that much better off than to dwell. And sure, we have a lot of things going on in our life lately and a lot of things that don't make sense. But let's try and maybe have a code word. If you are having issues like that, with a code word that will make you turn that conversation around or turn that reaction around so that you realize what it is, you realize that making just some small changes could be very, very useful for you to feel better about the situation, even if nothing's changed. Turn your focus to the task or to the environment. I know myself, it's now at times nice outside, so it's better for me to go outside, play with the dog, play fetch, clean up after the dogs, and yes, we bought some flowers. Now, the day after we bought flowers, it snowed. So, I had to think about this a little differently. And then I thought that was a great way to temper those flowers so that when I do put them in a pot, they'll be okay. I had to turn my focus away from what was going on in the house, what was going on in my everyday life, and do something that I do only in the spring. Know that that's the thing that I wanted to do, when knowing that that's the thing that probably would benefit me the most. When you are avoiding what's going on, though, it does make anxiety worse. So I'm always very vocal in letting people know how I feel, letting people know how the situation is, because if you're honest with what's going on, your insight to that situation might be able to be tempered, might be able to be helped by people around you. And so don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to have a conversation with someone about how you're feeling and what's going on. The sooner you do that when you're feeling a little angst, the better. And act the way you want to be. And no one wants to tell you how you're supposed to act. Act the way you need to. There's nothing worse than having stressors from around the people that are near you and having stressors about this environmental situation, the health care situation. You need to be able to be the way you are, but verbalize. Don't leave people in the dark. No one's a psychic, and so we want people to have those conversations. It's very healthy to know that your friend is suffering. Maybe you can do something about it. Sometimes it's just better to sit there quietly and listen, because venting and verbalizing what's going on is very helpful. And then let go of the expectations. And I think I said this in the beginning. Let go of the expectations that everything is going to return to normal. You might be very disappointed. It might not return back to normal. But what's the new normal for you? What's the new situation? I mean, how resourceful can you be to make the situation as things unwind better? More capable, that you are adapting. You are capable of doing that. And I think we've done that a lot in the past couple months. But if this is going to be situation normal with only a few small changes, well, how capable are you right now? And how can you increase your capability, your understanding, and your whole outlook towards this better, so it feels better, and so the people around you are experiencing a better you. Thank you so much for joining me, and don't forget to join me on TheresaCrowley.com.